right, so my guest on this episode, after the long hiatus, for which I have no real good excuse, Seattle's most dangerous comedian. Introduce yourself to everybody.
Hi, I'm Laura Lyons. I am Seattle's most dangerous comedian. Technically, I'm tied for Seattle's most dangerous comedian, but that didn't look as good on the merch.
How did you tie for that?
Do you know the story? Do you know what happened to make?
No.
So it's actually not a super funny story. So this Portland comic, bless her, was trying to do a good thing by outing predators, but she did it in a way where anyone could put anyone's name as a predator. No fact checking, anonymous posting. So like no one knew who was outing who and whatever. And so my name was put in as the most dangerous comic with this one other girl who's in Seattle. So it started off as being like outing all these predators, but then the predators heard about this and then I got outed as being a predator. But that's just because I'm a hero and have called out predators. So that's what makes me the most dangerous. If you're a predator, I will call you out.
You're basically tied right now, but who has the edge?
Who has the edge? Oh, I think I do. I made the merch for one, so I'm definitely not being quiet about it. Whereas for this other person, it's mostly blown over. But I refuse to let this blow over. This is a great opportunity for me. And so I think the fact that I've owned it probably is alarming to whoever posted it. I have some ideas of who may have said that, but I'm not going to name drop just in case I'm wrong. I'm probably not, but.
Fair enough. Most of my listeners probably wouldn't know who the hell they are anyway.
Yeah.
Boring ones would be Facebook creeping them, Instagram creeping them.
Right.
Aside from being super dangerous. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Dangerous, definitely. Until a month ago, I was employed as a lawyer, an actual attorney. I was doing post-conviction work, recently got fired. Probably the right call. I was terrible at my job. So post-conviction work, I was trying to help people get out of prison. I never helped anyone get out of prison. So,
but maybe you're just taking on the super guilty people.
You know, there might be something to that. That is possible. That's the thing about that job. It was crazy because we got requests from 8 of the prisons here in Washington, and anyone could write to us. So it could be someone who is actually innocent, or it could be a pedophile trying to get out of paying child support. So it was wild. It was such a huge scope of issues and different types of people we were helping, which made it cool. I loved going to the prison. That was my favorite part. But it was also it was hard. It's hard hearing about pedophiles every day. And the fact that I don't even, it doesn't really faze me anymore to hear about that kind of stuff. So that's when you know that you become super desensitized to prison life.
So with that, were you just assigned cases from your higher ups, or did you get to kind of pick and choose through that?
It was a little bit of both. The office I worked at was not managed very well. I was the longest working employee there. I had been there for 13 months and I was the longest person who's worked there at the time I was fired. So turnover extremely high. A lot of people, a lot of prisoners falling through the cracks. It was hopeless work. It was thankless work. The incarcerated folks, very happy most of the time, so grateful for any help they can get because they're often forgotten, by most people in society. But when it came to the subject matter, it was really hard. And then having management not be very supportive and it just being very confusing what was going on day to day, who's taking what case, where is this person? Have they moved to prisons? Do they still need help? Yeah. I'm not just saying it was a bad place to work because I was fired.
No. Well, if you have a high turnover rate, whoever your ex-bosses are, if you're hearing this, look in the mirror. Maybe that's the problem.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm gonna send this to them. I'm sure that will go over well.
You ever get a letter? It's Dear Miss Lyons, I hear you are Seattle's most dangerous comedian. How would you like to represent Seattle's most dangerous criminal?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, that's the goal though, man, if I'm being completely honest. I would like to still do public defense work, maybe not post-conviction, maybe try to help them before they're sentenced to life, because then things are harder to get done. It's harder to get out of prison once you're in prison. Or it's easier to avoid prison
than it is to get out of prison.
To get out of prison. That's what I'm trying to say.
So, like, what's part of the appeal? If you can get them out of prison, you're most likely to appear in a Netflix special.
I'm not gonna lie, I definitely fantasized about that a bit. What's also cool is like, because we were working with infamous people, there are like Netflix specials and documentaries about some of the people we did get to work with, which is
shit.
Yeah, highly recommend. I can't say any names specifically, but I think you should watch the confession tapes if you haven't. That's a really good Netflix docuseries about incarcerated people who are incarcerated because they confessed and basically nothing else. Yeah, and some of the people we've helped are featured in that series, and I won't say who.
I was thinking about, like, I should write this down, but then I realized I'm fucking recording this.
Yeah, no, that's the thing about video. Don't right.
It's the thing about getting old. You forget shit like that. So
yeah.
I feel like a comedian lawyer would make a good TV show.
That's what I keep saying. I feel like I should be more famous than this. Like, I have so many skills and talents. Why don't I have a TV show? That's where I always end up.
So the question is, what attracted you to being a lawyer?
I basically just wanted respect and for people to stop picking on me. Also, my dad's a lawyer and people always give him respect. So I thought surely people will give me respect if I'm a lawyer. Turns out that is not the case. People do not respect attorneys. Also, very different kinds of law. My dad does corporate litigation, so he's making money and helping corporations that are evil, usually. And I'm like doing the opposite, where I'm trying to get people out of prison or defending people who are not necessarily law-abiding citizens.
So your dad is a lawyer doing the opposite kind of law that you do, and you're and you don't have a fucking show based on you. Come on.
I know that there should be something. I'm telling you, man, Netflix could really make a lot of money on this idea.
I didn't know much about like your law stuff except for like what you post, but the more you talk about this, I'm like, this should be a fucking TV show. Like, you shouldn't even be a real lawyer. You should be an actress playing an awesome lawyer.
This is the thing too. So like, I was just fired after my first job out of law school. I was just fired from. My dad always ranked one of the top 10 attorneys in the country every year. Every fucking year. So it's literally the exact opposite. Constantly disappointment. It's fun to be a lawyer and still be disappointing your folks.
Oh, I'm sure he's still proud of you in his own way. I don't know him at all. I'm just saying that because it's the thing I should be saying.
Hey, thanks, Dad. I appreciate it. Oh, sorry. I mean, Rob, dyslexia. Anyway.
I apologize for speaking on your dad's behalf. Okay, so the next question I have is, what got you into comedy?
Similarly, I wanted to make friends. So I started going to open mics when I was 18, and I learned quickly they weren't going to card me. I was in Iowa. That's an important fact. I was in Iowa. As a comic, they weren't carding me. So it was great. Like, I could be with all these like cool, funny people, like getting drunk, like getting high. It was cool. I was edgy and it was fun and awesome. That's why I started comedy, and then I loved it. And so now I'm still doing comedy.
That's awesome. Well, background for people who are listening, the way that we've come across each other is during the Great Plague of 2020, people were doing stand-up on Zoom and on like video apps online. And we ended up doing one together, and you have a really good dark sense of humor that I just fucking loved, and it stuck with me because I also have a dark sense of humor.
Nice.
I'm like, this person's awesome. This person won't judge me for being awful.
Yeah, no, I don't judge you for being awful.
Appreciate that. Actually, like, now that I'm thinking about it, I remember the first thing that stuck out. They were talking about reactions from the crowd, and I said I would rather have the crowd boo me than go absolutely dead silent and just withdraw. And everyone was like, no, that's awful because they actively hate you at that point. And my response was, yeah, but whoever's going on next, instead of having to get their attention, can just talk shit about me and bury me, and people will laugh at that. So at least I'm giving them something to pick up on. And everyone was like, that's fucking awful. And you were like, no, that makes sense.
I do think that makes sense. Yeah, I stand by that.
Mm-hmm.
4 years ago, I was very wise.
You were beyond your years.
Beyond my years. Definitely. Definitely.
So where's your dark sense of humor come from?
Which podcast were we on together in 2020? Was it the one where I talked about jumping in front of a school bus?
You mentioned something like that. It was just some kind of Zoom mic or something that we were on with a few other people.
Okay, I think it was that one because I think it was the anniversary of me getting hit by a school bus. And that's why we were talking about it. And yeah, dark sense of humor definitely comes from the depression. And then things like that, failed suicide attempts. Yeah. I like to write about what I know, and what I know is the darkness.
So you've mentioned a few things there. Failed suicide attempt, hit by a bus. People are listening are going to be like, ask her about it. So how much can I poke and prod about those?
I'm pretty open about it. Like I joke about it on stage at this point. I was bullied a lot, unfortunately. And yeah, my sophomore year of high school was just really fucking bad. I was in and out of psych wards all year. I tried to kill myself earlier that year when I was 15. I tried to hang myself and the rope broke. And then May 19th, 2011, 5 minutes before school started, I jumped in front of a school bus right in front of my high school. It made the news. It was a very public attempt, but I lived, obviously. I was very lucky. I couldn't walk for 3 months and I had a collapsed lung and some other pretty serious injuries, but I made a full recovery. Like you couldn't even tell looking at me that I had been in such a horrific accident.
Question I have, did it just come upon you like, fuck it, I'm just jumping in front of the bus? Or was there like a moment of debate where you're like, that bus driver's cool, that bus driver's cool, fuck that guy, you're the one?
Dude, it wasn't even a bus for our school. It was for the Milwaukee Arts School. So didn't know the bus driver. Oh no, the bus driver. Okay. She, according to witnesses, I don't remember this, but she like hit me and then backed up and tried to make it look like she swerved toward me. I know. Oh man. And also, I don't remember anything about that day. There was a suicide note that was found. I had attempted a couple times that year pretty seriously. So based on all that, that's what happened. I mean, I guess it's possible that it was really an accident, but what I've heard from everyone is that it wasn't, that I very clearly meant to jump in front of it. Like I ran down the hill to get in front of it.
There's enough people to tell you that, and that bus driver still had the ovarian fortitude to try to back up and be like, oh shit.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, she ended up getting fired because, of course, she did. And if she had just hit me and then they learned that it was a suicide attempt, she would have kept her job. I don't know. I don't have that much sympathy for her because that's a really shitty thing to do.
Yeah.
It's like, instead of checking to see if the kid's okay, you're worried about your ass. It's just a job at the end of the day. Like, also, I shouldn't have been jumping in front of school buses.
To be fair.
Yeah, that I should.
It just strikes me as funny that if someone were to run and jump in front of my car in a very public place, I'd be like, oh shit, someone jumped in front of my car. There's nothing I could have done. I should be fine. Like, I shouldn't get in trouble for this. That kind of makes me think she was like, oh yeah, fucking kid's going to try to jaywalk. I'm not budging. Like she was playing chicken with you when she saw you running down the hill.
Or distracted, like on her phone or some shit. Like, who knows? Like, she might not have seen me and thought that it was her fault, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what ended up happening. Or what she was thinking, I guess.
I don't know. I just have all like the worst fucked up scenarios. Like she is on her phone, like it's just below the wheel. She's like just kind of ma'am, piss off. I'm trying to cheat on my husband. Man, just look up first. So how much material do you derive from all those experiences?
From the school bus one, I probably have 2 to 3 minutes on it. And then like depression in general, I probably have 5 or 6. So a good chunk of, and that's like material I use. This isn't like material I'm working out. This is stuff that I say in my act. This is my set. Like I'm going to talk about these things because I know they're funny. So a good chunk of it, you know? If I'm doing a 15-minute set, it's almost half. So
how's the audience take to that?
Really well. But here's the thing. So I've been doing it comedy for 10-ish years on and off. I started talking about getting hit by a bus like my second open mic. So it's taken a long time to make it funny and not sad. Yeah. Like to find where the funny parts are. Like what can I add? What can I like elaborate on? What should I not mention? Like that kind of stuff. Cause like just talking about it, it's humorous to say I was hit by a bus. But early on, like I learned that not a lot of people believed me.
Mhm.
when I said that and they thought I was just like being mean to people who attempt or commit suicide.
Yeah.
Now I start the joke out by saying like, "Oh, I love suicide jokes, but a lot of people think I'm punching down because I haven't tried killing myself enough times, but I assure you I have." And that kind of just makes people feel more comfortable going into it. Like, oh, there's about to be some talk about suicide and a suicide story. And it's not just like, so one time I was hit by a bus and just,
Mhm.
yeah, that was not good for audiences. They had no
No.
time to prepare.
That's something that I find is kind of hard to like ease into jokes like that. I got this joke that's like if I were to ever hang myself, I would have like a porn video playing on the computer or something. So like my family would think that I just fucked up jerking off and not that I was really sad and blame themselves.
That is a really funny take on that because I've definitely heard the opposite of that, right? Like,
Mm,
oh, how shitty would it be if you were doing this and then you died and your parents would have to make it look like a suicide? That's a really fun take. I like that.
thank you. I don't know what's like the worst part for the audience, like the suicide thing or the fact that they'd have to picture me jerking off for a minute. Like it's
That's
just
funny. I like that. Do you say that? That's a silly thing to say.
the last part about what's worse. I haven't thrown that in.
I think you should. I mean, I think that's a silly observation, but
I'm writing that down because I will take this notepad with me when I go out and perform. That's awesome. This has already been super beneficial for me.
cool. Yeah, this is fun.
So I gotta ask, do you got any cool scars or anything from the bus?
I do. But unfortunately or fortunately, most of them were on like my thighs and stomach. So not necessarily the best place for showing and telling, but I did break my humerus, thank God. So I can show you that scar. Do
That
you
is
see
a
it?
big fucking scar. Yeah.
Yeah, so here's how this happened. Jumped in front of the school bus. At the last second, I decided to put my hand up. So
Ah,
instead of getting run over, I like bounce off of it a bit. Also, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but my hand was severed. And so you can kind of see that scar too. It's,
I can see it a little bit through this. Yeah. The only reason I ask is like if you're ever on stage and you say I've gotten hit by a bus and people are like, yeah, okay. Do you have like your hand there where you could just hold it up and be like, see, that's from that or that's from that?
yeah, I don't think that would work though, because people are kind of far away. I mean, like even me putting it up real close, it's
Hmm.
real faded at this point. You know, it's been a long time. It's almost been 15 years.
Yeah. I think the motion though is like selling enough for it. You'd be like, yeah, look, I've got the scars to prove it. And you hold it up there, and like the odd person will pick it out and be like, oh yeah. And then everyone else will be like, yeah, okay, cool. That person saw it. That makes sense. I'm
I
hammered.
I could like lift up my dress a bit. That would get people real excited.
Seattle's most dangerous comic.
When I first started out, I was trying to make because like I had heard about guys like showing their dicks on stage, and I'm like, I want to do that, but with my vagina. So I kept trying to make a joke about that where I would end up getting to flash my vagina, but nothing ever worked.
No.
I mean, my vagina was flashed just fine, but nothing funny ever happened.
I did like an open when I first started. Like I've been doing stand up now about 8 years. Yeah, it was 8 years this month. I was thinking, did we move on a month from now? But no, we haven't. So it's been 8 years this month. And when I started, I had this whole thing where I was like, I got stage fright and I'm up on stage and I say, like, in school and drama class, they used to say, you know, like that old cliche, just picture the audience naked. But I've spent so many years on TV and social media and video games that my imagination's gone to shit. So if someone could flash me, that would help get this thing rolling. And I actually had a chick just come up one time and just shirt up.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. The perks of open mic comedy, man. I've had people like give me dollar bills because they get confused when they see a woman on stage and it's not a strip club, I think. But again, I take it. I don't care. Like anything can happen at open mic night. Also, have seen people get like choked out. That's not as fun as getting money.
No,
It's still exciting.
I spent about 15 years doing private security, and a lot of that was like bars and clubs as well as like
Yeah,
festivals and concerts and stuff. So every now and then I got to be that guy that was dragging somebody out.
nice.
It's really fun when you like drag somebody out of a bar on Friday, you go and do like a set on Saturday, and lo and behold, hey, that's the guy I'm going to talk about right now. How you doing, buddy?
Holy shit. Where were you doing security? Was it like a small town? Or was it
Yeah,
because you were working at bars?
a little bit of both. Yeah, like I used to work like for a private firm. So I could be at a small bar with 150 capacity one night. Then the next night I was right beside the stage with Black Sabbath. And then the next night I'm out in some fucking field somewhere for some kind of music festival. Like it was all over the place. I did everything. Ozzy Osbourne's a character.
Yeah, is he really crazy? Is
He's
it Matt
not.
Baker?
So this is what one of the guys told me that
Okay,
was there. Some old British guy, I assume, was like working
trust
there at
him.
the time and not just a hitchhiker they picked up.
Sure.
He said that Ozzy thought the bat was fake.
Oh, I feel like that's something you check before you do it.
Heat of the moment.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And drugs.
Checking always ruins the moment. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Anyway, what are we talking about? Go on.
And drugs.
Yep.
Yes, that's some of my background. But yeah, I done some shit, so I think it's given me the dark sense of humor. So that's why I said, like, I kind of like when you were talking, I was like, holy shit, this person's awesome.
Yeah, the darkness.
I feel like she wouldn't lecture me.
No, definitely not. So wait, how did you try to kill yourself?
Was jerking off and I slipped.
That can't be real. Is that
No,
true?
no. I've never tried. I've just been like stupid and careless a lot.
I feel that.
I've done things where I've been like, whoa, fuck, I could have died.
Yeah. I definitely feel like that's where my depression's at. I don't think I would ever purposely kill myself, but if I die on accident, it probably was avoidable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the high risk lifestyle. It's not
Yeah.
suicide. You still get to go to heaven. So,
I probably not.
well,
Probably not.
besides the suicidal ideology, I'm perfect. So,
Yeah. You're gold. You're gold.
definitely.
So who are your comedy influences, if I may ask, or like what famous comedians do you like?
I love John Mulaney, but my favorite comedian is Mike Birbiglia.
They're like
I
two of
know
like
that doesn't make any sense.
that works. That works so good though.
I think it's because I've always been a fan of like comedy, Comedy Central, especially like political humor like Stephen Colbert and Jon Stewart. But the first stand-up special I ever saw was Mike Birbiglia. And he was so funny. And watching it today, I still laugh so fucking hard. Like, even if he does swear or say something a little bit more provocative, which he doesn't do often, but when he does, it is very intentionally placed so that it hits so hard. And the way he can like start here and go like all over the place and then wrap up the story perfectly, that's something I want to be able to do in my comedy as well. Yeah, I think when I started out, I was like super, super dirty and a little bit more of like the shock humor. And so going back to see like what comedy can look like when it's not like shock humor, it's actually just like really well written. And then if there is some like dirty stuff, it's to make the joke funnier. So it's something I aspire to be. I don't want to be a clean comic, but I do want to be cleaner. And yeah, so role model, my favorite comic. Yep, there you go.
It's also funny though when you think about it, like John Mulaney you mentioned, because you see him as like, okay, here's this little nerdy guy with a high pitched voice and a really nice suit. It's like John
Yeah.
Mulaney is a drug addict who's married to Olivia Munn. Like he's so layered. Like,
And that's why I like him. There's more to him than I mean, I guess that's with everyone, but I just feel like I can relate to him on some level.
that's cool. So how big is like the comedy scene where you're at in Seattle?
It's pretty big.
Like I see that you host gigs, so that's impressive in a big area to be someone who gets to host.
Yeah, especially with my humor, it keeps surprising me. I've been getting a lot of hosting gigs recently, and I never thought that's where my career would take me.
Mm-hmm.
Like 5 years ago, I would have been like, absolutely not. You need to put me in the middle just in case.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I have been trying to be cleaner. I joke about law a lot now. So that's more palatable. Disabilities, things that are still like dark, but I'm just less shocky about it, I feel like. When I'm hosting, I don't talk about suicide. But okay, wait, you asked me about the scene. It's fine. It is a solid fine. It's pretty big now. I'm not a fan of how huge it's gotten. It's also one of the most divided scenes I've ever been in, and I'm looking to move.
Oh, like looking to just pack up and go somewhere, or just shift to like a different venues, or
No, I would like to go to New York. I'm just kind of done with Seattle. I was never supposed to stay here permanently. I was in Denver, but I didn't get into Denver Law School. So I applied to Seattle, got in there, and was only supposed to be here for a little bit, like while I did school. The pandemic kind of fucked everything up.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm just ready to move. Like
That's
I've done
fair.
the Seattle thing. I wanted to go to a decent medium-sized city. That's what Seattle is. But it's not New York, it's not LA, it's not Austin.
Mm-hmm. It was like a nice starter spot, I guess.
It's not a good starter spot.
No.
No, because this is gonna sound so bad. So it's not because of safe spaces. That's not why it's bad. It can be difficult when you're first starting out in comedy to know what's funny on stage versus what's funny with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
When you're just talking with your buds, like you can do a lot of shock humor, but you're all laughing. If you try doing that on stage, you're gonna be canceled in Seattle. It's not a warning. You're just done. You're never
Right.
performing in that spot ever again. And I guess that's a little bit the same everywhere now, I think, but that's not how it was when I started comedy. I think we need rooms where comics can be shitty, just
Mm-hmm.
really bad comedy without never being able to perform again. That's what I think. So
Yeah.
Seattle, not a good place if you're brand new. Good if you're like a couple years in.
Like here we got like regular open mics, and at first when they kind of like the scene started growing, like for a while there wasn't very many of us. For like 6 years there was me, a friend of mine, and maybe a few that would kind of come and go, and that was the scene. So
Mhm.
somebody would come from out of town, like, hey, we need a local opener. Like, you'd be getting a call. But now it's kind of grown and people have come in from other areas and they're putting on different kinds of shows. And at first I was kind of like, okay, I got to go out and do good. But you can only do so many of these and write quality so fast. So then it just occurred to me, like, I'm just going to treat this like the open mic, just workout room that it is. If I go up there and everything I say sucks, then I know I can toss that. If there's something that I'm like, okay, I can work on this, I'll keep that and try it next time with a different angle. And that's
Sure.
kind of like what it is here. But I've been at like an open mic where I've had the host tell me, he's like, "Oh yeah, I've had a few people complain about this joke; they didn't appreciate it." And I'm like, "Well, it's a fucking open mic comedy show, so
Right.
it." But anyone that talked to me after the show was like, "That was great. That was funny." It was a vagina joke, which is funny coming from a guy, but like an old guy, like this like really old guy came up. He's like, "Can I tell you my vagina joke?" Like,
Oh God.
I was like, "Absolutely." He could
I would have
his
been like, sign up next week. Here's when the mic starts.
oh, his joke was how come tampons don't wave to anybody on the street?
Oh God, why?
Because they're all stuck up cunts.
Canceled. Seattle
Cancel.
canceled.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I think he'd probably die before his career got really going anyway. He was pretty old, but he was just happy to tell me. So I mean, here it's okay, it's kind of hit and miss. And sometimes I'll just be having like it'll be a slow night there, and I'll tell something that's a little edgy and I'll kind of get an ooh. So I'll say, how would you guys like to hear like one of the most awful things I've written like 4 years ago? And then they can't fucking wait. I find if I give them that warning,
Nice.
kind of like my trigger warning, like this is going to get graphic and disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's good to give a trigger warning. Or yeah, at least I found that helpful sometimes. Not
It's
to
like,
be like trigger warning, but to be like, hey, we're talking about suicide now.
mm-hmm. Like, you know what? They made a whole documentary about the aristocrats joke, so you can sit here for 5 minutes and listen to me tell my story.
Yeah, there you go. God damn.
Don't know how familiar you are with this podcast if you listen to any of them like leading up to this. I have a regular segment I do with all my guests.
Ooh,
It's called Five Stupid Questions.
okay.
Some people take it serious and try to logic their way through it. Some people just have fun with them.
All right.
Laura, in life, we are told there are no stupid questions. However, you are about to be faced with five of them.
Okay.
Question one: which Smurf is most likely to be a serial killer?
Gotta be honest, not super familiar with the Smurfs.
What if we switch to the seven dwarfs? Which one of the seven dwarfs is most likely to be a serial killer?
Great question. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for asking me that. The thing about the seven dwarves is that with there being seven, it could go a lot of different ways. Doc, he could be the one that cuts them open with precision. He's probably better at like cleaning up after he's done cutting people open. Sleepy wouldn't be able to because he would be asleep, not
Narcolepsy.
awake long enough to kill someone. Happy, he's already happy. He has too much happiness inside of him to find joy from killing people. Grumpy, I feel like wouldn't be able. He's more of a mass shooter than a serial killer. You know what I mean? Like he just snaps one day.
Mhm.
Uh, Bashful, he'd be too embarrassed to kill someone. Sneezy, he wouldn't be able to do it either because he would be too busy blowing his nose.
Couldn't sneak up on
Too much
anyone.
DNA. Too much DNA left at the crime scene. Dopey is the only dwarf who can't speak. I think he could get away with it too. So
Mhm.
I'd have to say Doc or Dopey. Final answers.
Okay. I'm kind of like thinking Bashful might be like, he's always so like, like, I've got a secret. I've got a secret. Like, why is he so bashful? Maybe he's holding something in.
This is a great point.
Hmm.
That's good. Yeah, I disagree, but your logic is sound.
I could do a documentary, but I won't because that's ambition I don't have. Question 2. How high do socks need to be before they're too long?
It's a great question. Well, because once they get to be too long, they're just like tights. So I think it would have to be, once it gets up to your pelvis, you're entering that tights territory.
Mhm. Fair enough. Question 3. What 80s pop band would you most like to see re record their greatest hits as a heavy metal album?
80s pop bands?
Hmm.
Great question. There's a lot of great 80s pop bands. U2. I'm choosing them because I have heard a couple of their songs. 80s is probably my least favorite era of music. It was like one really long time ago. It was the 70s, but with just like weirder sounds. It's
Hmm.
kind of how I feel about the 80s. Yeah, sorry, I don't have a better answer than you two.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I call U2 the Bill Cosby of pop bands
Oh,
because
yeah, why? Because they
it's,
rape people?
well, instead of giving them a drink with a drug in it, they gave them an Apple update with a shitty album in it.
Definitely the same.
And yeah,
Absolutely.
that the album was really bad, and I couldn't get it off my phone. It really affected me 10 years ago.
I can see the similarities.
Question 4. What's scarier, a snake with legs or a tiger that can slither?
A tiger that can slither, definitely. Because a tiger's always going to be lethal. You know what I mean? And like its ability to slither just makes it more aerodynamic, I feel like. So it could catch me easier. Whereas a snake with legs is just a lizard. So,
This is an
and
amazing point.
sometimes snakes aren't poisonous or lizards aren't poisonous. So,
That is a great point. I don't know how that one escaped me.
it's all right.
Okay. I'm not upset. You're upset. Question 5.
Do I
What
come off as
regular.
condescending? Because I feel like I do sometimes. I'm not trying to be condescending.
No, no, it's fine. I'm just playing into it.
Okay, cool.
Question 5. What regular activity in your routine would you most like to carry around a championship belt for?
Sleeping? Do you
Easy.
mean like while I'm awake?
Yeah. Like you're out in public, you've got it around your waist or over your shoulder or however.
I'm probably like the most proud of myself for showering regularly. Not to be gross, but with the depression, it can be tricky sometimes. But I've been doing really fucking good recently. I've showered every day for like the last month, I'd
Nice.
say. And I would like people to acknowledge how great I'm doing. So I'd wear that one. I'd wear that one.
I'm I'm proud of you for that.
Hey, thanks, man.
I know that's a struggle with like depression. You don't want to shower, or brush your teeth, or all these little things that are nothing. It's just you don't have the energy or the drive to do. And that's like,
Uh,
and everyone's like, it's so small, but if it's every day, it's so fucking hard to overcome after a while. So yeah, good on you.
Thanks, man. I agree. I will say that one of the benefits of being fired, because I worked from home, which
Mhm.
made it so that, like, when I fell into depression, it didn't really matter because, like, I was just working from home. And now that I don't have that job, I feel motivated to leave my house because I'm not like, oh, but I have to work. I have to stay here, blah, blah, blah. Now I just feel like I'm a loser if I stay here. So it's forcing me to leave my house more.
There you go. So can you like practice law in New York if you move to New York?
No, I have to apply for the New York bar, which I hope I get in, but I don't know if I will. So originally, I was supposed to go to New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know this, but they saw my application and they wanted me to go before a bar licensed psychiatrist to make sure I was of sound mind before practicing law in New Jersey. And I was like, fuck that. I don't want to go before that person. So that's one of the reasons I'm in Washington is because they didn't check my mental health upon being admitted to the bar. And if New York asks me to do that, I probably won't because it's demeaning and
Yeah.
stigmatizing and just feels yucky. And I don't need
Hmm.
that.
That's your own business. That's not their business.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck them. Also,
Yeah.
New Jersey. That's where Chris Christie practices. I just feel like it's weird to draw the line at like depression when we have all these like really horrific people that are allowed to practice there anyway. But because they've never been diagnosed with anything, it's fine. I don't know, man. Doesn't make sense to me.
Chris Christie's not eating his feelings. He's just wealthy and showing it off.
Yeah, there you go.
Fuck. New Jersey. Okay. Tell me about how great Bruce Springsteen is again.
Yeah,
I don't like Bruce Springsteen. Fuck Bruce Springsteen.
I'm gonna Google him. Oh, I did learn that it's not Bruce Springsteen, like Sting. It's Steen.
Yeah, I'm like older, so I know all these like really old artists and stuff, and I've had time to grow this hatred for the ones I don't like.
Nice.
Yeah, the more people try to tell me how great Bruce Springsteen is, I'll actually learn actual facts to try to prove not. It's like, oh, this song is so great. I'm like, Bruce Springsteen only ever wrote one number one song,
What song?
Blinded by the Light. It didn't become number one until it was covered by Manfred Mann and the Earth Band.
Huh, that is a fun fact.
Mm-hmm. I know a lot of Springsteen fans that pisses off, so you break that out once at like a dinner and you never have to hear about him again.
Fuck yeah, dude.
So normally at the end, what I do is I give you the opportunity to plug all the stuff that you have going on, where people can find you, your merchandise, all that fun stuff.
I am selling happy pills. They're like pills with non-legal advice inside of them in a piece of paper. You're not supposed to eat the pill. There's paper in a pill. It's really cool. But you can't buy that anywhere except for where I'm performing. I don't have an online store. But I do have a bunch of shows coming up. So if you're in Portland, you can see me on the 21st. I'm hosting for Simon Kaufman. And then I'm opening for Kate Carlson on the 22nd in Edgewater in Washington.
The band Edgewater?
Wait, then it's Edgewood. I keep getting them confused. In Washington, you can see me there the next day. And then on the 27th in Seattle at the Shanghai Room, I'll be opening for Simon Kaufman again. Yeah.
Online tags and handles?
At comedian L Lyons, 2 L's.
2 L's. And can people buy your shirts anywhere, or they gotta go to your shows for that?
They have to go to my shows for that as well. And if you know how to like set up an online merch store, we should talk later.
You know what? I've actually helped friends that have like other endeavors do that same thing. So
I would love help.
I will absolutely help you. Fuck, I'll even design one of your shirts for you.
I would love that. That'd be cool.
Cool. Is that fair reimbursement for me taking an hour of your time for my podcast?
Absolutely. That'd be great. I'd love that.
I like that a lot. The last job you have as a guest is I have outro music that's going to come on at the end, and it's going to come in post because the band won't just stay here in my fucking place. They fuck off and just left me a recording. So all you got to do is say, hit it in your best Laura Lyons voice, and we're good to go.
I'm saying just the words hit it?
Yeah, or however you want. You can dress it up however you want. No pressure.
Right now I'm supposed to say it?
Whenever you're ready.
Hit it!